So, in the last video, we talked about how to give feedback or criticism,
or how to deliver a message and package it in a way that other people will be most likely to accept it and listen to the feedback instead of thinking that you're arrogant or that you're egotistical, and then that would prevent them from wanting to make the change themselves because they're going to feel like you were the one that influenced it or you're going to take credit for it. So we talk about how to try to make that, present that message in a way that is more acceptable by people, especially strangers or people that you're not that close to. Because the truth is, people that you're close to, it doesn't really matter. But the closer you are to someone, the more straightforward and the more direct you can be with your message to them. But if you're not that close, you have to finagle your way around and move the pieces so that they're more likely to listen to you because they don't know you as well. So there's a lot of room for assumptions. There's a lot of room for them to assume that you don't have a good intention or that you're trying to manipulate them in some way. So it's better to use these tips and tricks to maximize the chances of them listening. Now, you can't really ever guarantee that everyone is going to use these techniques and that everyone's message is innocent or with a given pension, or that they're trying to look out for you, or that they present it in a good, kindly way. There's a lot of people out there, and the truth is, most people, they're just simply not going to be careful when delivering things. Most people just want to say it. And if you notice, a lot of people give feedback in public and they'll just like wait for a moment when there's a gathering and they'll reprimand someone, or they'll give them shit for something, or they'll try to embarrass them or make things funny or turn them into a joke. A lot of the times this happens, and that just negates the entire purpose, because that person makes themselves look like a fool by singling someone out. And then the person who is receiving the message or on the receiving end, they're going to be very unlikely to listen because they're going to be in such a defensive mode. Hey, like the defense mechanism is so heightened and so activated that they're simply just going to be in a show. So we try to really guarantee our trust that people are going to tell us things in a nice way. So we need to prepare ourselves for how we can take a message that is very poorly packaged and then be able to extract the core of it so that we can use it for our benefit and forget about whether it pleases someone else's ego or not. Because in the end of the day, it's just you and yourself. It's me and myself. It's everyone for their own. And you just have to be very conscious about that fact so you can make improvements that benefit you, because at the end of the day, no one really cares, or at least no one cares as much about you as you do about yourself. So we have to treat ourselves that way so that we can give ourselves the best opportunities for growth possible. So, and I give you a bar of gold or a golden nugget. Besides, it's worth a lot of money. But before I gave it to you, I went and I gifted it in a pile of shit, and I just smothered it in shit, and I kept it there for a month, and I wrapped it in all sorts of dirt and mud and name it. I threw it in the sewers. I let it dry, and I added layers and layers and layers of disgustingness on top of that golden nugget. Now the nugget is this big, but there's like this much disgustingness around it. Now someone hands you that without telling you what's in the core, you will most likely run away. But if someone hands you that and they tell you what is inside, and they tell you, listen, if you dig through the layers, the outer layers, you're going to find something very, very, very valuable inside. You will most likely hold on to that thing very dearly. You'll protect it. And you'll obviously try to find ways to get through the shit so you can get to the goal. In a similar manner, when someone gives us feedback or criticizes us or critiques something about us or about our behaviors or attitudes or actions, they oftentimes, the clear of the message is valid. I'm not saying that it's always valid and then people always have a point. Sometimes they're seeing things from a different perspective, and so it's not really valid in any context. But oftentimes people will have solid opinions about certain things, especially if multiple people agree on it. There's a high chance or a higher chance that it might be true or hold some kind of truth. And so we don't want to throw away people's advice and people's opinions that might serve us better simply because they packaged it and delivered it improperly or in a way that is just unappealing to us. So, in order to get through the layers of shit that surround that golden nugget, there has got to be some kind of technique, some kind of tools or toolkit that we can use in order to efficiently and effectively pierce through the layers that we don't want, that we don't like, and get to the core of their intention. So if someone, for example, comes up to you and says, listen, I don't like you at all. You're absolutely a horrendous person. And I think your breath stinks. Fuck you. No, you just deliver it like that. I mean, if you don't start fighting with them or if you don't cut them out of your life immediately, I commend you for your patience and for your self-control. But I doubt many people will even take any of these words into consideration because it was way too hostile, way too negative, way too judgmental. And most people are going to discredit the entire thing altogether. But we don't want to do that because there was a nugget of wisdom in there, and that is that your breath stinks. So we need to be able to see clearly in order to figure out whether our breath actually stinks, and then what we can do to prevent our breath from stinking. So it's a tough pill to swallow because it takes a lot of effort, a lot of practice, and a lot of neutrality. Well, I don't even know if that's the word, but being neutral and in the way that we assess things in order to get to the core of this message. So the first thing you need to realize is that people are flawed, and most people don't really pay attention to these things. Most people aren't conscious or aware in the way that they approach giving criticism or feedback, or to be honest, in the way that they approach pretty much anything. So just we're conscious about this and we're aware that people just tend to behave
on instinct
and on their experiences, which most likely haven't led them to a place to realize that they need to be better communicators. We just know inherently that most people are bad communicators, but that doesn't discredit their opinions. It doesn't discredit their experiences. It doesn't discredit their feedback or critiques, which means that a lot of people have a lot of value to offer, but their delivery, they're just bad salesmen. They just don't know how to deliver it. This is the first thing we have to realize. And this will allow us to not react to hostility or negativity or judgment with hostility or negativity or judgment. And it allows us to be more neutral and say, okay, well, like, I know you suck at communication. I'm not going to judge you for being a horrible communicator, but I will try to see what possible value was there for you to provide me. And judgment that you passed on. So that's the first thing. The second thing we need to realize is when the collocation something is expressed with, and the way someone said from them, the energy that they say it with, and the tonality that they use, is going to affect the choice of words as well. So not only the way they say it, but the words that they use. So we just have to be able to listen to the words that were said and try to convert them to a more civilized or intelligent way of communication. So we'll take the word your breath skunks to something like, or let's say your breath smells like shit, and would you pick that and convert it to the you have an unpleasant odor. Your mouth has an unpleasant odor. It's a little bit. I mean, it's not that if someone says that it's going to be acceptable, brought out of the box, but it's a little bit of present than your mouth smells like shit. Your mouth smells like horse shit, right? No mouth has an unpleasant odor. I don't know. It's something a little kinder, more considerate. So if we're able to convert people's choice of words and people's tonality and just sort of a little more civilized and kind, then we can get to understand any their intention and what they meant more. And now finally, the final step is we have to realize that if we are not critical with ourselves, if we're not being honest with ourselves, then there is no amount of feedback and there is no approach that will work with us, that will deliver the message to us. If we're not willing to be self-critical and self-analytical and be honest with ourselves about who we are and whether we have flaws and we have room for improvement and room for growth, if we're not being honest with ourselves about that, the truth is we're just never going to accept any kind of feedback. And maybe the only thing that will affect the way we think about ourselves is going to be a very harsh reality check that slaps us in the face in an undeniable way that makes us realize through the hard truth, through the hard way, that we'll need to do something about ourselves. So in order to avoid that, and this usually happens to most people, if you wait long enough to make changes, you'll wake up one day and you will realize that reality is not as you had hoped, and it will force you to make some decisions and to look inwards and see where you need to improve. So let's save ourselves that trouble and actually try to be honest with ourselves. Because when we do that, then it will take someone who said, "You're a piece of shit and your mouth smells like horse shit, fuck you," and we'll be able to see where the core is. So we'll remove the "you're a piece of shit" and we'll remove the "fuck you." We'll take that your mouth smells like horse shit. We'll convert it to your mouth has an unpleasant odor. And then we're going to do this. And then we're like, maybe they'll have a point, but let me double check. And then we're going to go to someone we trust and we're going to ask them, does my mouth smell bad? And if that's someone you trust and they love you and they want the best for you, they will tell you the truth. They will tell you, yeah, sometimes it could smell horrible. And by being honest with yourself, you allow yourself the opportunity to accept that you have flaws that could be worked on, and that no matter how people express it to you, whether negative or positive, it could be true. And when you go and verify it with someone that you trust, someone that loves you, you are going to give yourself a verification, a confirmation that the feedback you got initially might have been correct and on point, and maybe you should listen to it. And when we do that, it's not very difficult, but just as a recap, we remember that people are flawed and they're bad communicators. We remember that people have solid opinions and experiences and outlooks and perspectives. We remember that we need to dig through the ship to get to the golden nugget. We remember that we need to convert people's tonality and choice of words to something more civilized and more acceptable and more kind, so that our subconscious can process it better. We remember that we are flawed and there's a lot of things for us to work on, and that someone's opinion could actually hold truth, whether in this context or another context, or just it absolutely be true. And we go to someone that we trust to verify if that opinion holds water. And if we can verify it ourselves, if we're being honest with ourselves, and we can say, shit, okay, I see why my breath did stink. That will all open the right door, which is us taking the right steps to work on ourselves and to make progress and to improve and just hopefully make our lives easier and, I don't know, better. And then maybe we're not choking the people around us with our breath. So this is all it is. Just, if you're someone who's gonna deliver a message, please package it carefully and reconsider it to people's emotions and people's sensi. And if you're someone who's receiving that message, be conscious that people might be bad communicators and that you need to do the hard work yourself, because they're getting take the extra effort to package it properly. In all cases, by the end of the day, it's you and yourself. And just be selfish enough to not wanting to satisfy other people's ego get in the way of wanting to improve yourself. You say, fuck, I'm not gonna improve myself because you've done, I think that he was the reason, and he took credit for it. So what? Fuck it. Improve yourself. Who cares? And then there's you and yourself. Thank you for watching The Social Condom and what think of The Social Condom. And I will see you next Monday.